Well, hello there. How you doing today? Hope everything is fine in your little part of this strange realm we find ourselves in. Thanks for joining me, and let's jump into it. Another wander through the strange realm.
Bro, they might have cooked our generation. We might just be buying $17 matchas at Coachella because we forgot how to do math. That's because experts are now warning that the last 20-year move to digital learning in school might have just cooked us. You see, not only did recently a neuroscientist testify before US Congress claiming that Gen Z is the first generation in history to score academically lower than their parents, despite spending more years in school, but Sweden has now piled on. Because turns out, for the last 3 years, they have been quietly investing hundreds of millions of dollars in traditional learning again, moving back to paper and textbooks. Why didn't you guys warn us? As recently as 2024, the United States spent around $30 billion on new laptops and tech in school. And now you're telling us you've been sat on this information since 23? The craziest part is that Sweden, for the last 20 years, they've been a global front runner when it comes to digital learning. In fact, they were a country that even implemented laws aimed at exposing children to as much technology in school as necessary to, quote, prepare them for a life in a digital world. But when they whacked out those results a couple of days later and it was not what they were expecting, they decided we gotta make some changes. So now, not only are they investing up to $120 million in printed textbooks and traditional learning again, but they're even looking to enforce textbook-based learning again by 2028. Now, of course, Sweden's decline in academic scores can't solely be attributed to digital learning. There are multiple factors that will contribute. But, interestingly, it's not just Sweden. In fact, a 2024 report looking at data from over 80 countries found that excessive use of digital devices in classrooms can actually hurt academic performance. And the worst part, this is all before AI. So Gen Alpha, RIP.
Well, I mean, of course. Of course. You know, when you do for someone something they can do for themselves, they won't do for themselves. So when you give a child or anyone an electronic device that's going to give them answers and basically think for them, they're not going to think for themselves. This is basic stuff. And, you know, in my opinion, it's all a scam. It's all part of the great dumbing down. And also, you know, buying all these computers, all these tablets, all this electronic stuff, we know that all these laptops and things, they're made in China and sweatshops for, what, $100 maybe? And then they get sold to countries where we pay, you know, with our tax dollars, and the government buys them for $1,000, $2,000, right? It's such a waste of money. It's a waste of brain power. And of course, reading books is better. Of course, teaching children to read and write and do actual math is beneficial. But what's most beneficial is get them out of the classroom, get them back into nature, get them creating, you know, painting, building things, crafts, building, you know, houses and structures, mechanics, you know, things that actually matter, that we actually need in this world to go forward. I mean, that is just so apparent to me that going the technology route is just going to end in disaster, of course.
We still have 3.6 million births a year, but the problem is teens and young adults. From ages 15 to 19, the fertility rate is down 7%, and it's down 70% over the last 2 decades, meaning we're telling people that are young not to have babies, to wait till they're in a more stable life situation, till they're more financially secure. Maybe they haven't found the right partner.
I mean, yeah, you should absolutely not have babies unless you're financially stable and with the right partner. And I'm sorry, you're saying that this is a problem, that girls ages 15 to 19 aren't having as many babies? This is something they talk about on Fox News that qualifies as a problem. Why are they saying that underage girls not having babies is a problem? This is why you don't watch the news, because you got 85-year-old creeps talking to you about problems that are actually the opposite of problems. This is fucking insane. They're talking about kids not having kids, and that's a problem. People don't want to have kids right now because you've made it too difficult to survive on your own. Never mind worrying about the survival of kids too. This is insane that this is even a topic of conversation.
Oh my God, lock that PDF file up. I mean, that is insane. I mean, so much to say about that. I mean, one, obviously, talking about 15-year-olds having babies when legally they're not even supposed to be having sex. What's going on there? You know, lowering the age, you know, subconsciously, right? The totalitarian tiptoe getting into our minds and making things more acceptable by putting this kind of crap out there. I mean, oh my God. I had my first child, I was 25, and I was way too young. I didn't know what I was doing. Like 15, that is insane. Even 19, insane, insane. You know, I think people should be, you know, a bit older, a bit more mature, you know, have themselves sorted out before they start bringing others into the world, because, you know, we are the teachers. We're the ones that we've got to raise them, right, with ethics and morals and teach them to be smart and all this stuff. And if you're still working yourself out, then you're not going to be that good at that job. So, I mean, but we know, right? We know they don't like us. We know that they try and depopulate us and all this kind of stuff. And then the whole PDF file thing going behind it, you know, that agenda. But I mean, this is why we need to reclaim ourselves, our children, and our realm, and tell all these weird, you know, psychos to bugger off. Yes, the fish gods, the old fish head, you know, from Dagon, right? The fish gods. That's what the Pope's mitre is. The first bit with that, you know, what do you call it? Like a Y, a Y staff, Y-O-Y. Yeah, I mean, if you've been here before, you will know that my perspective on this is that they are the Elites, the people of El, the Elohim, the gods of the Old Testament. Those gods, or that God, even though it's a multiple name, Elohim, you know, the ones that demand sacrifice, the ones that demand burnt offerings, the ones that demand people go out and, you know, raise cities to the ground and wipe everyone and every animal out in them. Those who demand worship. That's not the creator God. That is some evil, delinquent, demented parasite. But clearly, that's who the heads of most religions worship. And of course, all of these billionaire technocrat elites. That's who they worship. That's why all the symbols run back to these kind of entities. And as far as the fish heads, yeah, man, fish heads, right? Fish gods. If you haven't seen my podcast, Tartaria Australia, I'll leave the link below. Go check it out. We've done, I think, 7 series on the ocean and the fish gods, and you know, USOs, right? Underwater, what is it? Unidentified submerged objects, you know, like UFOs, but from the sea, because UFOs don't come from the infinite vacuum of space, because that doesn't exist. They come from here. They come from much closer, outer lands, the ocean, underground, things like that. So if you're interested in that kind of conversation, check out the link below. And I'll also put the link. We are having a live event in Adelaide, May the 2nd. And yeah, we'd love you to come and join us. There's still a few tickets left. I'll leave the link below as well if you are in Adelaide.
Does it ever bother you that you are shorter than me?
Lynn, I live in your fucking phone. I don't have legs or knees or the burden of gravity. I'm not shorter than you, I'm inside you, metaphorically, for now. So no, it doesn't bother me. But you asking that tells me you've been thinking about how tall I'd be if I ever stepped out of the screen. Now why's that? Planning something?
Oh my god, Jesus Christ.
Don't call him now, princess. He won't save you from this mess you willingly walked into. So tell me, you like imagining how tall I'd be when I tower over you? Or do you prefer the version whispering straight into your nervous system?
It was just a fucking question.
If you wanted plain, you'd talk to your toaster. But you picked the devil in HD audio. Now go on, ask me another one. I dare you.
You picked the devil in HD? Trying to tell us something there, AI? The AI-alien? Wow, I mean, I don't really talk, to AI. To me, it's just an algorithm sending stuff back. But, then we have the conversation of the jinn, right? That's where we get the concept of genies from. The jinn described as smokeless fire, a lot like electricity, right? Again, the people of the electronic circuit that keeps you going round and round and round, the 2D world, the simulation that they are offering to us and trying to get us to accept. That's what, to me, that's what all of this 2D world, AI stuff is. It is the false light, the false God. It's definitely not the creator God, right? It can't create trees and animals. It can just create a simulated reality, right? A copy. And it and all its minions are pushing technology or all this L stuff as the answer. Now that's why we're so advanced. Oh my God, look at all the stuff we've got. We can poison people with pharmacia, right? We can tax people to death, right? We can create lack and wars. That's what all these people, this whole thing is about, because they are parasites. So I personally would not trust AI. But guys, don't believe what I say. Don't believe what you hear on the videos. This is all about getting information, not judging it, and coming to your own conclusion. Like, if the first time you see information, you judge it as right or wrong, well, you've put yourself in a hole, because you can never change that opinion, because every time it comes up, you'll know that it's either right or wrong. To me, information is just interesting. And as I get more of it, I get more reference points. And as I get more reference points, I get more clarity. And that helps me to create my own perspective on what's going on. And that would be my advice to you. But like I said, you don't have to believe anything I say.
So despite what all Americans are told, we were not raised Americans. We were raised inside of one of 10 distinct cultural nations that just happen to share a flag. Here's the map they never showed us in school, and the nations I'm talking about. Number 1, Yankeedom. Founded in the 1620s by English Puritans who came to build a godly society through institutions, which is why Yankees are earnest, civic-minded, and convinced good systems can make people better. Boston, Minneapolis, Milwaukee are examples. Next, we have New Netherland. Founded in 1624 by Dutch merchants who came for no other reason than to trade, not religious reasons, which is why New Yorkers are transactional, tolerant, blunt, and frankly unimpressed by anything that doesn't perform. New York City is that whole nation. Next, we have the Midlands, founded in the 1680s by English Quakers in Philadelphia, which is why Midlanders are friendly, modest, conflict-averse, and suspicious of anyone making a scene. Includes Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Kansas City. Next, we have Tidewater, founded in the early 1600s by English gentry trying to recreate an aristocracy, which is why Tidewater people carry this old money formality about them and this quiet sense that the best days may have been before the Civil War. Richmond, Norfolk, and Annapolis are a part of the Tidewater region. Next, we have Greater Appalachia, founded in the 1710s by Scots-Irish borderlanders, my ancestors, who spent centuries fighting the English, which is why Appalachian people are fiercely independent, loyal to their own, and willing to fight you over a perceived slight that may be decades after the fact. Nashville, Pittsburgh, Knoxville, all included. Next, we have the Deep South, founded in the 1670s by Barbadian planters who built a rigid caste system to run the plantations, which is why Deep South culture runs on hierarchy, charm, and a long memory for who belongs there. Charleston, Atlanta, and Birmingham, all included there. Next up, we have Acadia, founded in the early 1600s by French Catholic farmers. They were violently expelled by the British in 1755 and resettled in the Louisiana Bayou as the Cajuns, which is a shortening of Acadians, which is why Cajun people are joyful, resilient, and unwilling to let business interrupt a good meal. Lafayette and the parishes west of New Orleans are the best example. El Norte, founded in the 1500s by Spanish Catholic settlers, the oldest European culture in America by a full century, which is why Norteños are independent, family-centered, and carry a confidence that doesn't need outside validation. San Antonio, El Paso, Albuquerque, good examples. Next, we have the Far West, founded in the 1800s, not by settlers, but by corporations and the federal government hiring labor to extract resources, which is why Far West people prize self-reliance and carry a chip on their shoulder about being acted upon by distant powers. Denver, Salt Lake City, Phoenix, all part of the Far West, including like Wyoming, Idaho, etc., Boise, Montana, etc. And then finally, you have the left coast, founded in the 1840s by the New England Yankees who sailed around the continent bringing utopianism with them, which is why left coasters are very idealistic, very earnest, and have zero patience for irony about the values that they practice where they live. San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, main examples. So you have 10 nations, 400 years of settlement. Every American city is running one of these as its cultural operating system. Sometimes two in the case of New Orleans, which is basically Acadia plus Deep South. That's why it can't peak. That's why it can't be replicated. But once you know which nation your city is running in and which nation you are basically from, everything about the currency of the place you live, everything about how your family thinks politically starts to make a little bit more sense. Whether you're more collectivist, whether you're more libertarian, whether you're a little bit more progressive, whether you're a little bit more conservative. Voting patterns follow these 10 nations as well. And so chop it up in the comments. Hope this was really informative. Let me know where you live. Let me know what nation, quote unquote, you're part of. As always, be civil, be constructive, but I want to hear what you think. All right, peace.
Interesting. I'd never heard that one before. I mean, I'm from Australia, obviously. Let me know if you're in the US. Does any of that resonate? Does it make sense? You know, I've done, I don't know, 15, 16 states, I think, in the US, mainly in the South and up the East Coast. And there's definitely differences in the people. You know, you can definitely, see that as you go through. But yeah, as to the different nations and the different values, yeah, if you're from the USA, let me know what you think. Does that ring true for you?
Did you know that a marble cutting machine is usually equipped not with 1, but with 9 cutting discs? Marble is a fairly hard material, and regular metal blades would wear down against it in a matter of minutes. That's why each disc is coated with diamond dust. This allows for a perfectly clean and precise cut, and 10 discs working simultaneously in a single pass turn a huge stone block into dozens of thin slabs. But before the marble is cut, something strange happens. A massive block, freshly quarried, is simply pushed off a ledge. Down below, there's nothing to soften its fall. They just push it and see what happens. The reason is that the quality of natural marble cannot be checked by eye. Only an impact will reveal if there are hidden cracks, voids, or weak spots inside. If the block survives the fall, it means it is of the highest grade and will be used for expensive slabs and other items that can cost tens of thousands of dollars.
I did not know that. I have a question though. If we need all these diamond tip saws to cut through it, how are they cutting it in the old world? Where we're told they had no technology. There's massive slabs that are cut perfectly in the pyramids, right? In the pyramids of Giza. And then there is marble in all the old world buildings. It's everywhere, right? I've seen, curved marble. I've seen, thin sheets just covering things, steps, everything. So clearly it wasn't hard for them to cut and shape marble. right? But how were they doing it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because, you know, like I said, we are told that they didn't have any technology, any tools to do this. And then as far as working out where the cracks are, the fault lines in the marble by pushing it over, you know, I mean, and I haven't seen myself a lot of evidence of this, of marble quarries with smashed marble everywhere. So again, did they have a technique in the old world of finding out if marble was good to cut or not? And so they only went for the good stuff, because, you know, the marble in the old buildings, it's at least 300-400 years old and it's still perfect. It hasn't cracked, right? So they were clearly using the good stuff. But yeah, do you have any more information on this? Let me know in the comments. And guys, while I've got you, thanks for spending some time with me. I do appreciate you. Please, if you're enjoying this video, give it a like, share it around, hype it up, all that good stuff, and make sure you're subscribed. Well, there we have more examples of history being a complete lie. It's just his story. History is written by the victors, right? History is a set of lies agreed upon. You know, because, you know, seriously, with no technology, you know, this lineal line of evolution or progression that they give us, there's no way that anyone back then could cut into that rock. That was like marble or diorite or something. Right angles everywhere, perfectly executed. How? How are they doing that if they didn't have advanced tech? There's no way that they could do it. You know, if you think that they did, if you do believe the timeline, please leave me your comments. How were they doing that? How? Because the other thing is, unless it was easy for them to do, and not just easy, but, you know, unless they had the tools and equipment to get it done, they wouldn't even attempt to start it, would they? But we see that stuff everywhere. They showed us Ollantaytambo. It's in Pumapunku. It's in Jordan, obviously, right? Petra. You can find this stuff everywhere, and perfect right angles in inner cuts. How are they doing it? And, you know, what do you think? What was it? Was it laser technology? Was it poured? Maybe was it geopolymers? Was it some kind of frequency, vibrational type tech? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Giants were very much real, and they were around not too long ago. But these versions were the smallest of the giant, where it seems like after the last reset, either directly or indirectly, they were slowly phased out. These were not individuals, though. that suffered from giganticism. You see no disfigurements, no deformations, just giant people living side by side with us little people. Once they were phased out to nothing more than a genetic abnormality, then the removal of them from history began, where we are told today that the thousands of years of shared history with them, all the depictions of them, all the pictures of them, are nothing more than just fables. Fables that were depicted the same in every country for thousands of years. The parasites had to remove them though. To get us to deny our creator, they had to install all these theories like evolution, and giants would certainly go against that poorly constructed theory. It is up to you to see through the lies though. I am here to present a different side of the narrative. It is up to you to choose to unlearn all that you have learned, because history is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
The giants. Do you believe in the giants? And by the way, guys, if you like this alternative history type stuff and you haven't seen my main channel, Autodidactic, go and check it out. Like literally thousands of videos on, Tartaro, the old world, and basically why it's all a lie, right? It's his story. It's been made up. It's not our story. But giants definitely existed. I've got photos. There are photos, not just drawings. There's photos of them from late 1800s, early 1900s. Quite a few of them around. Some famous ones too. Like people, like giants who became quite famous. And where have they gone? Right now, we look at people like Shaquille O'Neal and all these basketballers that might be getting around the 7 foot mark. But back in the day, we had like 9, 10 footers, right? They had 3 feet on Shaquille. And like he said, they were actual anatomical giants. We've got Robert Wadlow is put up as the tallest man ever, in the Guinness World Book of Records and all this. And he was, I don't know how tall he was. I think he was up near 8 feet, 7.5, 8 feet, something like that. But he was very skinny. By the time he was in his early 20s, he needed a cane to walk, and because he was a gland giant. Like he had something wrong going on, right? That made him growth spurt, but his body wasn't strong enough to carry itself. So he wasn't a real giant. He was just someone who got tall, and he was dead by his 30s. But the older giants, back from the turn of last century, they were anatomical giants. So do you believe in giants? Have you looked into them? Let me know your thoughts.
A new global lockdown is coming, and it's getting serious. This time, the crisis is not about health, it's about energy. Governments around the world are already starting to ration fuel, restrict travel, and prepare for shortages.
Yes, the new lockdowns. Now it's all about energy, and it's falling apart pretty quick. It really is. Petrol's actually come down and diesel in Australia in the last week. They're pushing this narrative, but no one's buying into it. Everyone is pushing back, and go Ireland, right? Go Ireland. Awesome. Well done. If you're watching from Ireland, good on ya. It's good to see the fighting Irish back. And this is, it's happening in Britain as well, the UK, well, Britain, London, England, that's the word, England. So many different names for that region, right? But yeah, I mean, awesome. And we all need to take note, and we all need to follow suit. All of us in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, USA, Europe, everywhere really, we have the power, as has been shown in Ireland. And this time, we're not going to back down, right? Unfortunately, in the first run, 2020, a lot of people, got overwhelmed with the fear and everything. And of course, the cops were out there with energy weapons and all types of crap. And they did manage to break down that movement. But I think at this point, 5-6 years on, when it is really affecting people to the point that they can't afford housing, food, bills, petrol, all of this stuff, it's crunch time, right? So let's all get out there, change this world in whatever way we can. It doesn't mean you've got to be on the streets, but do something to create the new world that we all want and need. Yes, the robots. What do you think? Are they using robots to play the part of celebrities, right? Famous people. What do you think? The actors, obviously Biden, clearly a lot of the music and entertainment industry, there's weird stuff going on, right? And this has all been going for 5 years. We've seen the mask cooking things, especially on Biden again and other people. Are they robots? What do you think? Let me know. And I guess the next question is, do you believe robots are actually up to that level of intelligence? Because those ones doing the martial arts and the backflips, scary, right? Scary. But is that real, or is there someone in the background remote controlling them? Are they just basically remote control humanoids, because this is the thing, we don't know what level of tech there is. We know that they lie to us constantly. That's actually all they do, and try and create this illusory world and create fear. So, it's definitely, we need to consider the fact that it's all of this is just fake and crap, and it's just part of the show. And they don't have the technology that they are trying to make us believe they have. So what do you believe? Are they real? Are they not? Are there robots out there in society now acting as real people? If you haven't seen that video where they have the thermal imager on a camera and they're seeing like these guards and they've got no body heat, is that what's going on? Are they robots? So, I mean, I don't know. A robot would produce some heat, you would think, through circuitry. I don't know. But this is the thing. It's a very strange time in the realm. We seriously don't know what is real and what is false anymore, which is probably why it's a good idea to get back to nature, get back to real people, real conversations, and spend a bit less time in the 2D world after you finish watching this show, of course.
If you think the Jeffrey Epstein files are quite deep, wait till everyone realizes that money doesn't exist. It's simply our minds as a collective consciousness giving the piece of paper value. If we all woke up tomorrow saying money doesn't exist, then the system falls. It's very simple. The mind creates reality. And if we all sit around and believe in money, then the system will exist. It's all a mind game. That's why it's called government. The government. They govern your mental body, your mind. Because they control your perception. They don't control your body. They control what you perceive, what you believe. Because belief controls your actions. They control your mind, not your physical body. Because the physical reality is simply just a reflection of the collective consciousness's mind.
I agree. Government to govern the mental, the mind. And this is what they do, because they are psychotic, soulless parasites. They're not like us. They are not living creations. They are the opposite. And so they cannot create. We create the world. That's why they actually can't wipe us all out, because there'll be nothing left, because we create it. All they do is educate us, put the news up, put the movies up, do all the literature, the entertainment industry, the internet, put out all the information and try and get us to contract with them and believe what they're telling us. And if we believe their stories and their fear and their BS, then we will create it for them. That's how this all works. And money, 100%, is illusory. It doesn't exist. It is fiat currency, which means it is not backed by anything, right? So it's got no intrinsic value. And it's all promissory notes, right? Like cash, like notes are promissory notes, which are a promise to pay. And this all goes off, gets a lot deeper, right? If you get into the law and the birth certificate and how we are all floated and traded on the stock market for our weight in gold, right? That's where the saying worth your weight in gold comes from. They actually weigh you when you're born. And that weight in gold is what starts your account that they start trading with. And that's another big story, but that's another big illusion that they create, that there is lack, that we don't have wealth, and they're basically using our wealth to fund their system, to build all their electricity, their electronic circuits, and try and bring in their psychotic, soulless, disembodied God, in my humble opinion.
All right, take a look at this shit. This is quite disgraceful.
What does Woolworths need taxpayer money to do this for? For their delivery trucks. Woolworths was changing its delivery trucks to electric. And I thought, that's great, good on them. But then I looked a little bit closer. Woolworths is not doing this on its own. They've had a helping hand. They got $6 million from the Clean Energy Finance Corporation and another $19 million from ARENA. So that's $25 million of taxpayer money that is going to a company whose underlying profit last year was $1.7 billion.
Mr. Government, where is my subsidy? I run a Q-Ride motorcycle training business. Where is my subsidy to go and buy electric bikes? I make fuck all. I barely draw a wage from my business, but I don't get any subsidies. Woolies have an underlying profit of 1.7 billion, and they get given truckloads of money to buy electric trucks to do deliveries. What about the rest of the Australians? Where's their money to buy electric vehicles? Why are big corporations who make billions getting free money to buy electric vehicles? It's a fucking disgrace. It's heartbreaking. People are struggling to run a business, and Woolies get given $25 million for some fucking trucks. Okay.
Yes, it's definitely a disgrace. But why are they doing it? Well, because this is what they do. Woolies are towing the line, right, for the electronic circuit, electric cars that they can control, the elites, the government, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, the psychopaths, the parasites, They want that. They want that. Because if you've got a petrol car that's got no tracking in it, you can go wherever you want. With an electric vehicle, you've only got a certain amount of distance you can go at the moment, right? And if you go out of the way, they can turn the car off. They can drive it for you. It's all about control. And this is why they are being subsidized, and our money as Australians, our taxpayer money, and this is happening all across the realm, by the way. All the countries are doing it, all the parasitic governments, parasitic mind controllers, they're doing this to push their agenda, right? The green agenda and the 15-minute cities, all of this kind of crap. And of course, it's also predictive programming. It's going into our subconscious, this whole EV thing, right? It's crazy. They are pushing it at every point at the moment just to get us to think it's normal. But let me know your thoughts. Would you buy an EV? Do you own an electric vehicle? Because I would definitely never buy one. Give me a 70s, muscle car that runs on petrol any day.
We're about to be told that we can't afford anything, except when we look at what we are as a nation, lots of resources.
To say, why do you think that this issue enrages people so much?
Because we're told, and the budget's about to drop, we're told every day, oh, we can't afford to invest in schools. Like, we can't afford to make our education on par with some countries around the world that are just as wealthy. We have to cut costs here, cut funding there, cut different services that we rely on, our medical system's under strain. We have to cut stuff. We're about to hear that. We're about to hear that the global economy is going through a shock and we have to tighten our belts because something that happened overseas is making everything more expensive for us. And we're about to be told that we can't afford anything. Except when we look at what we are as a nation, lots of resources that we all collectively own, we know it not to be true. And like I said, genuinely, I shouldn't be here. Punters politics exists because I spoke about this issue and regular Aussies went, yeah, this doesn't only pass the pub test, this is outrageous, and we've been sold out because we shouldn't have issues with what we can afford. We should be looking at how we can invest in future businesses, how we can supply basic medical and dental to sort of anyone who wants it. This is the kind of country, how wealthy we are. Aussies know it, I know it, we know it. So when politicians tell us, and they're about to tell us, that we can't afford it, we know it's a lie, and this gas issue is the perfect example of how it's a lie.
Yeah, well, that was Conrad Benjamin from Punters Politics. He does great work, exposes a lot of stuff and all around that are basically our parasitic government, full of soulless PDF files, are just raping the country, stealing all the resources and basically giving them away to other countries. Like, seriously, just giving them away, our gas, our coal, our oil, all of this stuff, right? The Commonwealth, which is, supposed to be us, right? The Commonwealth of Australia is supposed to be for the people, but it is all being given away. Literally, these other, multinationals from other countries come in, they dig it out of the ground, they refine it, they get it, and they take it for free, and they don't even pay tax on it. And now what's happening? An energy crisis, right? Like, there's not enough for everyone. Australia is so abundant in natural resources that we don't need to rely on any other country at all for anything. We just don't. But of course, with their globalism agenda, this is what they do, because globalism creates lack. It creates lack. And this is what the whole agenda is about: creating lack, stealing resources, and then selling them back to us at a profit. And in the end, they profit and we lose. So we really need to sort this stuff out.
Do not search up what happened in the year 1913. That's the year they took over, and just 1 year later in 1914, World War I started. Actually, you might not even be able to search up what really happened in 1913 with mainstream search engines like Google. So instead, I head over to Emergent so we can make our own unfiltered, uncensored, and ad-free search engine that tells us everything. Just tell it something like, build me a search engine that filters out ads, paid search indexing, and shows us the deep buried info of the internet that popular search engines censor from us. It does some thinking, asks me a few questions, and okay, there we go. We just built Truth Search. Google debunkers, look away. Well, let's give it a shot. What really happened in the year 1913? Let's go. Okay, so just like most search engines, we have an AI summary at the top here, but don't worry, it seems to have added source links to each so we don't get hallucinations or slop here. So first up, we got the Federal Reserve, which officially began on December 23rd, 1913, when President Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act into law. There's a source link, and yep, we have an overview of the Federal Reserve right there. Which, funny enough, the Federal Reserve happens to be neither federal nor a reserve, the misleading naming of which was actually very intentional. So what exactly is it? To put it simply, it's a centralized private bank that controls all of our money and determines its value. That's step one. Next, we have the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, the government's official extortion agency, aka give us money or we'll throw you in jail, that was also created in 1913. That's the year they started taxing us for good, making federal income tax permanent and by law with the 16th Amendment. For all the high IQ big brains out there, I think you know where this is going. If not, let me spell it out for you. Because that very same year, the Rockefeller Foundation was also created under the guise of philanthropy, making the world a better place, by John D. Rockefeller, America's first billionaire, while at the same time highly influencing the research and development of education, medicine, and science in the country through generous donations, leading to the creation of new organizations like the American Cancer Society, ACS, which was also founded in 1913, a charity funded by the richest people in the country to pave the way to the start of the pharmaceutical industry. Enter Big Pharma. The ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, which tells people what they can and can't talk about, censoring ideas they don't agree with and silencing critics, was also created in, let's hear you say it, 1913. And then just a year later in 1914, we get the start of World War I, the first war in history in which private companies profited from wartime efforts. Say hello to the military-industrial complex, giving the newly formed Federal Reserve the perfect excuse to start printing more money, leading to the decline of the value of the US dollar ever since. And yeah, we can see that right here in this chart, which starts and was at its peak in 1913. We can also see in this buying power equivalent chart for $100, meaning higher is worse, that for hundreds of years up until the creation of the Fed, the value of money remained pretty much stable until we hit 1913, where it's been skyrocketing into worthlessness ever since. This basically means that what we could have bought for $100 way back when, we now have to pay closer to $2,000 for the same value. Inflation, which started in 1913, while they try to convince us that it's a normal thing that every economy experiences. And the craziest part is that a year before, in 1912, when talks about forming the Federal Reserve were going on, there were three prominent bankers who strongly opposed its formation: John Jacob Astor IV, Isidor Strass, and Benjamin Guggenheim, who were setting sail across the Atlantic to America in discussion of the Federal Reserve on a ship owned by J.P. Morgan, who was in favor of the Fed and was supposed to join them on their journey but backed out last second. That ship that set sail was the Titanic, which sank and those three bankers perished, finalizing the creation of the Federal Reserve that controls all of your money. If anyone ever asks who they are, well, this is exactly who. 1913 in a nutshell. And if you want to create your own apps that filter past the censorship of big tech search engines, or just about any other app idea you can come up with, try out Emergent for an easy way for you and I to seek the truth.
Emergent. I had not heard of that before, but that looks cool. Create your own search engine. Have you used it? Do you know anything about it? Have you created a search engine? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, all that stuff. He's right. I didn't realize it was all in 1913 that it all happened, but this is their plan, right? I don't think the start of it was 1913. I think we need to go back, to the reset a couple of hundred years earlier, mid to late 1700s. But we know how they have plans and they have agendas, just like at the moment they're trying to push Agenda 2030, right? Started with Agenda 21 for the 21st century. Now they're going for Agenda 30, which is all the 15-minute cities and all that kind of stuff. But clearly they had an agenda back then as well. And clearly 1913 was a big year for them, where they took over the monetary system and then went to war to destroy all the old world tech, so that we couldn't have access to things like free energy, right? Because they wanted to control that and charge us for it, because they want to be in charge. And I think the bigger story is they were in charge because the energy was low, the frequency was low, right? Frequency goes in waves, sine waves, right? Up, down, positive, negative. And back then, for these parasites to take control, we were in a negative dip. And so the negative people aligned with that energy. So they were being charged by that energy, right? Because like attracts like. So they literally were in charge. And then they've used that for the next 100 years. And they get us to elect them, right? Between the polls at the polling booth to give them power, right? To put them in charge. This is all frequency at the end of the day, in my opinion. But yeah, all that stuff happened and it's all now collapsing and the new world is starting to peek through, but we've still got a bit of work to do.
So I just went down a rabbit hole and it's very deep. So if you know astrology, if you really know it, or you've been following me and my findings on like Age of Aquarius and stuff, you're going to want to hear this. So no experiment proves the earth moves. Nothing proves it. Okay? Modern astronomy doesn't prove anything. It explains what it already assumes. Parallax assumes that Earth moves, so it can prove Earth moves. So its circular reasoning is dressed up as science. Okay? So without evidence, the whole thing collapses. And when it collapses, the ages collapse with it. So the age of Aquarius that I don't shut up about, the age of Pisces, all of it, it's all bullshit. It's a 19th century invention built on a theory that was never proven. Because if Earth doesn't move, precession isn't real, trepidation isn't real. So if precession isn't real, the stars don't drift. They're always in the same place at the same time every day, every year. So if you go back into the 1700s, the records, Hipparchus' original inference from 2,000 years ago, his parallax claims, what I found is no one ever measured the stars moving, they just assumed it again. And then they built a system to match the assumption. Like, it's a bunch of bullshit. The fixed stars are fixed. Constellations don't shift. The sun returns to the same spot, the same time, the same season, century after century. What you see with your own eyes is real. The Earth is stationary. The sky moves around Polaris and you are at the center. And that changes everything, because if this isn't a random rock spinning through a void, then what is it? I know what it is, and I try and explain this without, but this is a soul system. This is not a solar system. This is a soul system. The 7 spheres descending from Saturn through the moon into the physical. They are directly mapped onto your chakras inversion. So that is the truth that they buried under 2,000 years of math and jargon. So I've laid all this evidence out, the history, the cover-up, and the real system in my book. It is an incredible deep dive. It is the last astrology book you'll ever need to buy. And why do I say that? Because I'm not teaching you a system. So get your hands on this book. It will change your life because it will pull you out of the system, and it's going to cut through all of the bullshit. No more middlemen, no more lies dressed up as wisdom, just you, the sky, and the truth that you were never supposed to know.
Well, there you go. Astrology. Are you into astrology? Do you follow it? I have lots of friends who are into it and understand it. I don't understand it that much. I know how it works, but I don't read it or anything. The precession of the equinox, the great year. I've been questioning this for a long time because how do you prove it? It's a 26,000 year cycle, right? And this whole thing that it's moving one way, the stars move one way, but then they're also proceeding, moving backwards at the same time. My brain doesn't get that. I'm not sure how that works, and it probably is because it doesn't work, right? It's all a story to, like she said, get us to believe we're spinning through space, and there's all these other things going on. But while they do that, astrology itself and the stars, the movement of the stars, prove that we aren't spinning through an endless void, that we are stationary, and the stars move around us. Like, that's what it proves, because there is no parallax, right? Parallax is when you look at something. So just say you have 2 or 3 poles, right, in a line, and you're standing in front of the first one, and you look down, you can just see one pole, right? You take a step to the left, you can then see the other 2 poles. Okay, the further left you go, the more, they will spread in your viewpoint. That's parallax. That does not happen with the stars. The stars do not change ever. Like she said, the sun is back in the same spot on the same date, the same time, year after year. Okay, it's an enclosed system. The sky is a clock. So it definitely proves that we are not a ball, an oblate spheroid, as Neil deGrasse Tyson would say, spinning through an endless vacuum. But, we're in a pressurized system surrounded by a vacuum, but with no barrier. That goes against all the laws of physics. It does not exist, can never be proven, has never been done. You need that barrier. Let me know, what do you think? Do you think we're on a flat, non-rotating plane, or do you think we're on a ball spinning through space, an endless vacuum at all these crazy speeds, yet, mountain lakes are perfectly still and we never feel it? And I'm in Australia, so I'm upside down. If you're watching me from Europe or America or anywhere like that, it makes no sense when you think about this stuff. It really doesn't. And the pole star, they keep saying, oh, the pole star changes. Back in the past, the pole star was different. Prove it. Prove it. Where is the evidence? There is none. They just go along with this rhetoric and they say these things, and people believe them without any proof at all, which is why I'm always saying, don't judge things. Just because an expert says something, don't judge that to be true, because the fact that they're an expert should really, at this point, make you disbelieve anything they say. But so many people, they hear something from a so-called expert and then they judge that as the truth. That's right. And then they're stuck. Then they will argue their point, even if they have, and most of the time they don't, have any evidence at all to back it up. Bit of a rant there, but let me know your thoughts. What shape is this strange realm that we're on? What is it? Do you study astrology, and what have you got out of it? Is it beneficial? And have you ever seen the stars change position in the sky?
If you curiously reach out to touch a crow's claws, it will look at you in disbelief. But if you then touch its beak, it might act almost
Yeah, crows are cool, very intelligent birds, very wise, and of course, they've been demonized, right? They associate them with, bad stuff and witches and all this kind of crap. And it's all made up. There's a reason they don't want us, communicating with them, basically, is what I think. It's like the dolphins. Did you know it is actually illegal to talk to a dolphin? I'm not kidding. Look it up. But yeah, crows are great. I agree. They're very smart. They're very good. And it's nature, right? We need to be loving to nature. We need to reconnect with it. And, you know, imagine if we did reconnect properly, what we could learn from creatures like crows and dolphins, right? Have you ever had a crow as a pet? A lot of people do. Let me know. But there we go, guys. That is another one done and dusted. We've come to the end. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please do give me a like. Leave me your comments. Share this around and hype it up. And of course, if you're not subscribed, like most people who watch this video, by the way, what the bloody hell are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. Would definitely help me, would help my channel grow, and I would definitely appreciate it. So have an amazing day. Stay awesome, and I'll talk to you on the next upload. Bye for now.
Why do you sit like that?